Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. If Scorpio is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your reading. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. And if there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger. And I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I might provide. And remember, Scorpio, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And a Ten of Swords. Very cool. I like that. I really do like the Ten of Swords. It means that we're making progress. We're getting out of old ways of thinking. And yeah, I see that maybe it's a struggle for you to move forward, to be open to change, but I think we're doing it. This is good energy right here. Let's see what else we've got. More really good energy. Some court cards. We've got a little bit of Magus energy over here. That's really nice. Some more fire energy. Let's do our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. We're going to use the Smith-Waite Tarot. And this is the card that we select randomly. We set aside. We put the frog on top. And we just park them right over there. We're not going to look at that until the very end, all right? And hopefully that will, tie everything together, give us the confirmation we need at the end of the reading. So, let's look around. We've got fire, fire. We've got air, air. We've got water, water. We've got earth. So really, we've got a pretty decent balance of things because we have, maybe we're a little light on the earth energy. Okay, we've got a Two of Pentacles here. That's something. It's what we're looking toward, right? This is kind of in the future. This is the next move. This is, this is representative of all the change that's coming after this, right? All the change that's possible to you right now. I think this is really huge. And the fact that we have the Mercury energy here, Hermes, the Magician, the Trickster, the Magus. Well, this plus the two, this is real inspired change, right? This is huge. This is change that I think is more like the unfolding of your destiny, right? Because we have that Mercury influence. That is some real divine strategy right there. I like that. But let's start with this air energy. We've got a Ten of Swords. You're someone who does not make decisions like this very lightly, okay? I feel like when you make a big change in your life, or when you decide that you're done with something, when you decide to get out of something, you're very sure, right? You've done the math. You have explored every angle of this, and you realize that it's time for a change. Maybe you're in a career position where you've gone as high as you can go. There's nowhere else to go for you. We've got to move on. Maybe you're in a relationship, maybe a romantic thing, where you realize that it's kind of gone as far as it was meant to, as far as the two of you really are capable of in this situation at this time. Yeah. It could be that you are exploring some creative outlet. Maybe you're painting something, maybe you're drawing something, maybe you're building something. Maybe you've come to a point where you just realize that this particular medium, right, this particular canvas and these paints just aren't going to do it. Maybe you have to switch to something else, right? The Ten of Swords, to me, is saying that we've tried everything, we've explored every avenue, we've looked under every stone, around every corner, and this just isn't working, okay? That's not a bad thing. Because this doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a relationship and now you're realizing that there's no future and so you have to leave it. No, it might not be that. It could be. It could be for some of you. But what this really is the strength that we have to admit when a particular way of thinking or feeling or perceiving the world, a paradigm that we're in, is no longer working for us. It could be that we have, I think we've been struggling against this for a while. And take it how it resonates. Doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be any structure of thought, any plan that we maybe have had, or a belief about the reality of the world, right? Even if it's just our little corner of the world. Realizing that we've got to let it go. Realizing that we've been holding on to this, wanting to believe in it. It's just not what it seems, right? And I think that we've been wrestling with this for a while because, look, we've got all this air and all this fire. We see in the recent past the 5 of Wands. And this, I think, was us really, this was fighting for this particular plan, relationship, this job, this, whatever, this belief. We were a real proponent of it. We fought hard to make it a reality. We put everything into this. Energetically, you put your real spirit into it. It's not something that you just kind of half-heartedly tried and doesn't work. No, you really put all of your effort into it. You fought for this. And I think that brings, it brings a little bit of sadness, I think. We don't have an overwhelming amount of water energy here, right? I think that you're someone who can be satisfied. We have water here, 3 of Cups, right? This little one, I like to shake the cards like we're an iPhone. The 3 of Cups is telling me that you really have the best of intentions, that you are not really too disturbed by the reality here because you know that you put everything you had into it. You tried your best, you fought for it, you explored every avenue. There's no animosity here, right? There's no real discord. It's almost like we have realized that we've been looking at the world or our life or ourselves or our relationship, again, whatever it is. We've been looking at it a certain way, and that's just not working anymore. Maybe we had a plan for a certain career path or education path, certain financial path, a certain destiny that we thought was ours. We're realizing that, hey, this isn't what I thought it was. That's liberating, right? This could be the life that you thought was yours, that you were just kind of, this was it. You were here. This is your job. This is your, the routine. This was just, this was everything. It was just set. This was it. It was a closed system. Yeah. Not anymore. Because now into this 10, now the 10s it's the final even number, right? And the even numbers represent a picture, a state, a structure, right? A form. This was your perception of your life. That now we're adding a little bit of cognitive dissonance in there. We're adding a 7. A 7 is an odd number. It's active. It's outgoing, energetic. It's extending. It is the hand that reaches in and just rattles the cage, right? Is bending the bars on the cage and breaking you free from this cage. This is kind of our belief system that acts as a little, if our soul is the bird, this is the gilded cage around it. So it's a freedom. I think you feel liberated here, And I think it really is that, this now your destiny can really unfold. Now you can actively unfold it yourself. It's not just going to be another gilded cage. I think that's a real liberating feeling. So what is the 7 of Swords? What is this that's kind of coming in to shake things up and disrupt things? That is a very good question. I think that has to do with this Mercury energy that we see on the path of the serpent. I think that it is, I think it could be some, how am I going to put this without sounding too hocus pocus here? It feels like visions. It feels like flashes of insight. It feels like some kind of, like a daydream almost, or maybe a nighttime dream. But little flashes, almost like memories, but not memories of the past. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to get too mystical here. I feel like it's been a kind of, it's been a nagging thing for a while. There was something that's ongoing, and I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a mixture of different energies that are bending the bars on your gilded cage, right? It's just kind of slowly waking up, to the matrix kind of thing. Seeing anomalies, right? Seeing a glitch in the matrix, so to speak. Okay. I do like those movies, but not exactly that. I don't know if you're out here bending spoons or not. Maybe you are. But I think it's just these little indications from the world, from your life, from your interactions, that just kind of give you that feeling like, maybe this isn't for me. And this is the Mercury energy, the Magus energy, sending you these little pokes and prods, and Mercury's just over here giggling, just laughing, just waiting to see how many of these little arrows, right, it's going to take to wake you up. I think it takes a lot, because I think you're someone who can commit. I think you're someone who's very strong. I think that you've been struggling with this situation for a long time. I think you fought to attain this. And now we're kind of wrestling with how we feel about kind of wanting the freedom, about wanting the change, about... It's almost like there's maybe for some of you a little bit of guilt that we're getting out of this cage and we're being free. And I say maybe and a little bit, but because I don't feel that strongly. The Three of Cups down here, this is telling me that you're ready to express yourself. You're ready to pursue this freedom. The Three of Cups, this is a bird that's ready to fly, right? That freedom, that joy, I think it's going to feel really good. This is your desire for freedom. This is your understanding that your destiny is more than just what this Ten of Swords was. Now up at the top of the path, we have a Six of Wands. This is very balanced energy. This is kind of what we're aspiring to. Oddly, this kind of looks like the gilded bars of the cage too, but maybe this is those bars that are now broken. Maybe we've learned that maybe we're striving to recognize that any path we're on, any destiny that we're unfolding, any life that we're building is going to be in some way restrictive, right? It's going to establish a boundary because you have to do things, and when you do things, it means you're not doing other things, right? So we're creating distinctions. And I think that's unavoidable. But your aspiration is to know that your choices and your decisions, right, whatever kind of gilded cage you're building for yourself, is you building it for yourself, is coming from source, from spirits, coming from what you really feel is your destiny, right? Nobody's building it around you. It's your choice. And I think this is a real way for us to both accept the reality of the world we live in, that, going in one direction means that you're not going in the other direction, right? You can't go in two directions at once. So it's restrictive. Any way we look at it, it's restrictive. Being okay with that, but then still feeling the freedom that we are expressing our kind of true nature, our true will, our soul and spirit, right? And so this is a very delicate thing. This is a very kind of fine line to be walking. I think this is also a card that talks about your relationship with others, your relationship with the whole, right? Because we talked about your relationship with the reality, of this kind of building our own cage kind of thing. But then also understanding that everybody else is doing the same thing. And everybody else has a right to build their life the way they want. And maybe we look at others and we think, God, they're really building a small cage around themselves. But that's okay if that's what they want. It's not up to us to interfere with anyone else. It's because it's interesting now. Now it gets good. The 7, right? The 7 of Swords. This is spirit that's kind of interfering with the cage that you had already built. But in the way that's saying, look, this isn't the one that you really should have built, right? It's Mercury is kind of your higher self saying, no, this wasn't the cage for you. We're building something else. We're going to change this. So it's a very freeing thing, but I think that freedom it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because we're flying out of one cage and we're building a different one. But I think that's inevitable. But I think the freedom is still there because it's your choice. It's you doing it. You are structuring things in your own way. This cage is going to be an expression of yourself. And maybe I'm using the wrong choice of words. Maybe my metaphor isn't really that well thought out today with the whole cage idea. But it's not meant to take away from the sense of freedom, but it's meant to reinforce the idea of kind of a self-directed life, right? Self-determination, self-creation, right? And I think that you understand that. I think with this 10 of Swords here, you have explored every avenue of this, right? You've done the math. You know that this is not your system. This is not your structure. This is not your cage. Maybe I should stop saying cage. So anyway, let's talk about the 2 of Pentacles now. This is the future. This is the way forward. This is your destiny unfolding now. This is you always making the right choice for yourself, right? This is you striving, in theory anyway, always making the correct choice. But we may not always know the correct choice. That's why we need Mercury. That's why we need the air energy. And this is the idea that, yes, when you're choosing the left hand over the right hand, or you're choosing to go, in a particular direction, you're choosing coffee or you're choosing tea, right? And that means that we're not choosing the other one. Okay? And yes, you can say that you're choosing both, but my point here is that we can't choose everything, right? You can't have every single beverage known to humankind. We've got to narrow it down, right? But building this pattern of choices, right? That's the cage. It's our habits, it's our routine, it's kind of what we tend to choose. I tend to choose tea most of the time, I guess. But we can always recognize that, and we can get out of that cage too, and eventually we'll get into another little cage through other choices. So maybe we're building an infinite number of these bird cages around our spirit. Maybe this metaphor is going too far. You get the point. It's about choice. It's about knowing ourselves and choosing, right? And that brings us over perfectly, really, to the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is the fire in the middle of this ring, this fire pit, right? We've taken stones, we've gathered them up into a circle, we've lit our fire in the middle. Perfect, right? That's one bird cage, right? It's one expression of ourselves that is well defined. It has a border, and it is what it is. Our fire, our spirit, our creativity is right there in the middle. But like any campfire, it's only going to last a day or two, or a week maybe. And then we put the fire out, we put the stones back, and we keep traveling, right? So when we find ourselves in a bird cage, when we've outgrown that bird cage, or we're just looking for change, when we're still on that path of unfolding our destiny, we can take the cage apart, because we've learned how to do that now. We can take the cage apart, we can fly free. And then we can find another cage for a night or two, right? Another nest, maybe. Maybe nest is a better thing. But to me, a nest is kind of like a semi-permanent thing, whereas a campfire is temporary. It's only for a night or two. We're here, we're spending the night in this spot, and then we're going to keep going. So it's not about establishing such deeply ingrained habits that we can never get out of them again. It's not about surrounding ourselves in all of these steel bars of thought and belief and habit and routine that we're incapable of change. And that's why I think a lot of these philosophers or mystics, I think of Castaneda, first of all, with Don Juan, talking about disrupting our routines, right? We have to learn what they are, and then we've got to break one of those bars. We have to get out of that cage. Even if it's something as simple as every time I go out, I get a tea. I'm always getting tea. I'm reinforcing that. That's this very strong bird cage, right? Maybe when I go out, I'll choose something else. Sparkling water, right? Plain water, tap water. I don't know. Just to disrupt that habit, that routine, right? And I think through that process, continuously doing that through and through, as often as we find the opportunity, as often as we can, have that awareness, as often as we think about doing it, is going to be good for us. It's going to allow us to continue to unfold our destiny. And I think that's really, those are opportunities for us to wake up. And that brings us here to the Princess of Cups. This is some good water energy. And the water energy is intuitive, it's compassionate, it's understanding, it's reflective. So to me, this card is representing, through these choices we make, through the unfolding of our destiny, through getting out of our bird cage and choosing which one to kind of go toward next, through these physical activities, that's how we reflect on who we are. That's how we can really see ourselves, right? We have earth and water, Princess of Cups. It's in these habits and routines and choices that we really reveal who we are to ourselves and what we're capable of. Yeah. So I think this is a very important part of the work, is being aware of what we're doing, being reflective at the same time that we're making choices and taking actions and unfolding our destiny. We have to be aware of ourselves doing it. We have to reflect upon it perhaps after the fact and say, okay, gosh, I wonder, why do I always choose tea? What is it about that? Is it just because I'm awkward and at the Starbucks when I have to talk to people and try to choose what I want and I feel nervous in the moment or something? I kind of do. I'm socially awkward. I get a lot of anxiety. So is that why we're choosing certain things over other things? Am I choosing tea because that's really what I want every time? Or is it just because that's easy, that makes the smoothest interaction, right? The smoothest social interaction is for me to already know routinely what I'm going to say. I don't even have to think about it. Yeah. So these are the kinds of reflections, right? In every choice, even something as silly as what we order at the coffee shop, you know. I'm not promoting Starbucks. It just came to me. I actually haven't been to a Starbucks in a while. They're not a sponsor of the channel, but they could be if they would like. Anyway, yes, the next card, though, that Mercury energy, it's kind of what we don't want, right? It's in this position of what makes us kind of nervous, because this is now us realizing that most of our life is a habit, a routine. The choices that we make aren't coming from this place of pure feeling, pure will. They're coming from this place of what is going to be the smoothest transaction in our world, right? And I'm not saying that for everyone. I'm not saying that all of the time, okay? I don't speak in absolutes, or I try not to. I never do. But the Mercury energy is saying that Mercury is going to make us aware through this kind of cognitive dissonance, through this kind of interrupting our routines, through these little flashes of remembering ourselves, right? I think of Gurdjieff and the self-remembering, where we get a little bit of anxiety when we realize that I'm standing here, or in this case, I'm sitting here, I'm in front of a camera, you know, thousands of people are going to see this, and now I'm very much aware of myself, you know? Now it's like I can feel you looking at me as I'm looking this, you know what I mean? It's a two-way kind of perception. But that's what the Magus energy is providing us right now. That's what we don't want. That's why it's in this position. There, now you're not looking at me. It's in this position because we don't want that. Nobody wants that. It's kind of an awkward, self-conscious feeling, right? But it reveals to us how our choices are reflective of what's going on psychically, emotionally, and we'll try to get out of that cage so that we can start making choices from pure will. What do I actually want to order right now? What sounds good? What's going to feel good? What do I really want deep within my soul, without consideration for what costs less, what's going to be the easiest to say without like stuttering and fumbling my words, which I do all the time. So it's just this increase of perception, of self-knowledge, right? And learning to make choices that are inspired from our true self, from the divine, right? Not from the kind of paradigm, not from the bird cage that we're already in. Yeah. This is a lot of power, a lot of responsibility, right? A lot of it's a heavy thing. A lot of like being awake and being aware, you know, rather than just kind of gliding through. It's a really heavy thing, but we need it. We need it sometimes, at least. The next card, though, is pretty cool because this is a Queen of Swords. This is those moments of flying free. This is the moment in between bird cages, right? When you've kind of, and it just, you know, the figure is up there in the clouds, doesn't want to come down, doesn't want another bird cage. Well, maybe this is an end state that we're striving for. Maybe going from bird cage to bird cage. See, I'm fumbling my words. I can feel you looking at me. Going from bird cage to bird cage is like kind of not what we're into right now, you know? We know it's kind of part of our destiny. That's the way the world works, and it's through our choices of which bird cages that we're expressing who we are and we're becoming who we are. But maybe there are some mystical moments in between that we just want to linger in for a while. Maybe this is a state of complete and utter indifference, right? That we're not making choices. We're trying to be infinite. I'm not gonna make any distinctions in the world. I'm not going to make any choices. Or if I do make a choice, it's going to be with a flip of a coin, right? What am I drinking today? Let me just roll the dice, and that's the number that I'm going to order. But even there are problems even with any of these strategies. If I flip a coin, that only gives me two options, yes or no. I could have them ask me, do you want tea? Flip a coin. Do you want coffee? Flip a coin. They can go down the entire menu, right? But then, am I in their birdcage, right? Because they're telling me what's on the menu, line by line. Now, am I in the birdcage of whoever wrote the menu and what order they chose to put things? See, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So even choosing not to choose is a birdcage. Even trying to do something randomly is a birdcage. So I think what we do is we accept the fact that it's going to be a birdcage no matter what we do, but we'll try to add in. We'll try to utilize as much of this Mercury energy, as much of this kind of indifference, right? And I don't know if indifference is the correct word, but it's not, trying not to make decisions based on any kind of outside factors or internal factors even, right? Just trying to maybe ask spirit, maybe look for something that is outside of time and space to make a decision or to inform of the decision. That's why synchronicity is so startling. It's something that comes from a different dimension, comes from outside of the birdcage, which is where we ultimately would love to be permanently. Things like tarot, things like flipping a coin, pendulums, the Jing especially. Those are always messages from outside the birdcage. It produces novelty. It puts this kind of randomness, but I don't believe in randomness. But it puts an element of that into the situation, which is as close as we can get to being outside of the birdcage, right? It's just to get some message from outside the birdcage. Anyway, I hope I didn't get too abstract with this. I think this is really an important reading for you, and I encourage you to take what resonates. We're going to do the mystery card now with our frog friend before we get too long in the tooth, as they say. Thank you, frog. I would personally like to see a little bit more earth energy. There's not that much here. We see some, which is really choices, the randomness. This is the coin flip right here, right? Doesn't matter which way it goes. It's choosing, it's going to have either a yes, which means it's not a no, or it's going to be a no, which means it's not a yes. So it's a birdcage. So let's just see what it is. Well, it's a 7 of Wands. So it's something we're wrestling with. It's kind of a battle we're not going to win, right? Someone's at the top of this hill or this battlement, and they're surrounded. We're surrounded with this kind of challenge, and we can fight it off. We can struggle against it, right? As much as we want, but ultimately, they're gonna get us, right? I mean, it's kind of a inevitable thing. And I kind of am reminded of this 7 of Swords too, which is kind of the other way around. We may be fighting off the synchronicity, fighting off this little cognitive dissonance, and trying to just stay in our nice birdcage here. We don't want to know that there's anything else going on out there. This reminds me of that show on Apple TV, Silo. Have you seen that? Let me know if you've seen that, and if you have, put in the comments how that applies to this, right? Because to me, it's an instant connection, right? It's kind of an inevitable thing that that we're going to be, in some ways, creatures of we're going to live lives of routine, these habits, these bird cages, but we can try to think or see or feel or at least know intuitively that this is the case. Now we can struggle against it or we can accept it, which is what we're doing with the 6, right? Up here, we are accepting it. And then we're also doing what we can to to get some perception outside the cage, outside the box, you know. I want to thank you for being here. We're going to do an extended, click on the link right there if you want to check out the extended reading. That'll give you access to everything, okay? Thank you for taking this journey with me, and thank you for being the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot.